All right, so today I'm going to come at you with my last impressions of the Roccat Burst Pro. If any of you are new here, I started this last impressions type of series because we see a lot of first impression videos, or heck, even standalone reviews from us tech reviewers, right? We use this product for X amount of days or maybe a week or two, then bam, we're on to the next one, right? So some products that stay on my desk and I use for an extensive period of time, longer than, again, that week or two right there, I want to come back and share with you guys, hey, how is it performing these days? Is it still holding up as good, or has it gotten better from how bad it was, or whatever, you know what I mean? Again, just giving you an extensive review as far as me using it for a lot longer period of time. And by the way, we are also going to give away a Roccat Burst Core right here. Pretty much same mouse, different cable, and then different sensor right there. But again, as far as shape and build, really solid product right here. We're going to give this away, so stay tuned to figure out how to do that. But again, talking about the Burst Pro before I dive deep into it right here. If any of you have been around it for a while, or you've checked out my website, stinkingcozy.com, by the way, to join the giveaway, you have to be just a base member. You don't have to be a paid member right there. We do have paid supporter options, Support and Supporter Plus. It's kind of like my own controlled or managed Patreon rather than run it through a different company. So, but again, just be a regular member, sign up on there to enter. That's one thing. The rest will come through the video. But as far as the Burst Pro, on my website, it was listed as my main mouse for quite a while, and it really was. So you're probably thinking right there, well, he's saying was. So is that a bad thing? It's not a bad thing, but there is one core reason that made me box this mouse up. It's not me saying it's bad, but there is one reason. All right, so before we get into any of that, I want to talk about what makes this mouse great right here. And number one, straight out the gate, is the price tag. Regular MSRP on the Burst Pro is $60, but all day long these days you can find this mouse for $50 everywhere. Again, links right down in the description, by the way, but 50 bucks for this mouse. And that is an absolute steal for what it's packing right here. A nice lightweight mouse with great performance. But other than price, like, price doesn't make it a great product, right? That's just bonus on top. The shape, the dimensions of the Burst Pro is just awesome. Now, it does look a little bit short right there, and yeah, it is a little bit shorter. But again, with that hump, and that's what I want you to focus on when you're looking at these dimensions, is that hump right in the back right there. So again, if you're just clawing or fingertipping this mouse, you can still pull it back. That hump's gonna hit you into the back of the palm and lock into place, which is great. For someone like me, where I play Call of Duty, I like locking my shots and holding it right there, not just flicking and dipping. But again, I think with the dimensions and the shape of this mouse, it's versatile with all grips as far as fingertip, claw, and again, relaxed claw, where you can set it back into your palm and just kind of relax there for a little bit, you know what I mean? The dimensions are fantastic. And going deeper into those dimensions right there, what makes it so great are the other mice I think it really sits in between. Number one being the XM1, whichever heck version you have, right? They're all the same pretty much, right? So the XM1 right here, if you've used it before, that hump is definitely prominent towards the back. A little bit of a wider mouse right there. The shape is just fantastic on this mouse. It is awesome. And the other mouse I want to pull out here is my other main, if I can say it right, two mains. that's pretty fair, right? I always tell people to have two mice on their desk. But the Zowie ZA12 right here, I stinking love this mouse. I like a mouse with a little bit of girth, a little bit of weight on it, you know what I mean? And that's what the Zowie does right here, you know what I mean? And the hump on the Zowie is definitely more dramatic than either of these other two mice, for sure. Now, the 11 might be a little bit lower. I haven't used that one, or no, maybe the 13 that is actually. But on the 12, it's definitely more prominent. So again, when I'm getting my relaxed claw, bam, it's instantly back right there. I get that vibe quite a bit with the Burst, not as dramatic as the ZA. And if you want none at all, kind of reduce it a little bit, you go down into the Burst. So again, when we look at them, if you look at that hump, that's the main thing I want you to focus on here, is that tail end hump. It's not a mid hump. Again, it's on that tail. So you got the endgame gear, the XM1 back here, lower hump in the back, Burst Pro, bigger hump in the back, or we'll go small, medium, and then when we get to the ZA, we have a large hump in the back. All right, so I don't want to sit here and just harp on dimensions and shape, and I know I'm going on here, right? But that's how I like doing my reviews, is not just slapping some numbers up on the screen. I like telling you guys my experience, pulling out a couple comparisons and let you know how it beats up, just so you can have kind of a good vision of what the product is compared to some other products you may have used. So we touched on the XM1 and then the ZA, how this fits right in the middle, but I want to pull out two mice that I think are very popular and a lot of you might have used. Number one being the glorious Model O. I have the wireless here, same as the regular O. And then we have the Razer Viper. Again, we have the Ultimate, the wireless one, same as any of the other ones out there. So say if you're using these two mice, the best way I can put the Burst Pro. I had a brain fart right there. Unscripted. I tend to forget what I'm talking about sometimes, right? But anyways, talking about the Model O and then the Razer Viper. These mice are very similar against Zowie FK, and you got to pull them back a lot harder. You got to try to pull them back into your palm. You don't get that with the Burst right here. Again, it's pretty much right there. Pull it back a pinch, bam, and it's into your palm, you know what I mean? So if you're like me and you like locking those shots, depending on what game you're playing, that's where something like this, in my eyes, and for my gameplay, really comes into beneficial right there, especially with Call of Duty with the recoil and everything, right? If you're playing something fast, you're flicking and dipping single shots, bam, 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 that's where something like this that's not going to come into the back of your hand, and you're constantly just able to flick it with your fingertips right there. You get that wrist movement, the arm movement, and bam, the fingers, you're all over the place if you're constantly flicking single shot. That's where something like this comes into play, I really believe. But again, with the Burst Pro, if you're comparing it to these two mice, think about if that hump was more towards the back. How you got to force these guys to come into the back of your hand. That hump's more back there. It's almost like instant, bam, and it's into your palm, and you're going to hold that shot. That's what the Burst Pro is compared to, again, the Viper or the Model O. All right, so sorry to go on about those dimensions. I think it's just, again, a shining point, and hopefully with those comparisons right there, you kind of got a better understanding of how this mouse feels in the hand and its performance there. But looking over the mouse on top of that, the build of this thing is stinking solid. No creaking, no flexing, no nothing. Exactly what we see with a lot of Roccat products, right? These things are stinking solid. Very nice tactile scroll wheel. Recessed slightly in there. Very nice. And these side buttons, big and chunky. I stinking love them. You can clearly decipher them. All right, so as you just heard with that sound test right there, 1 and 2, they are just, yeah. They are crispy. Using those optical switches, I mean, they are some loud, clunky switches. Not clunky in a bad way. They're just very loud compared to some other. Let's get the Model O. I mean, clear as day right there. You got that nice low-pitch click, and these guys are just like, whew, they're chunky, you know? So again, right out the box, that almost made me put this mouse back in the box, right out and back in. Anyways, it almost made me put it back into the box because they were just stinking annoying, you know what I mean? But I'd say after about a week's worth of time, it definitely, I got used to it. I mean, most of us are gaming with headphones on anyways, you know? So again, after I gave it that time, I got used to it. It's almost like that Zowie scroll wheel. I'd say the Zowie scroll wheel is a little more annoying than that, you know what I mean? But again, after some generous time with it, I definitely got used to it and it was perfectly fine. So don't let that ruin your experience. If it's out of the box and you hear that and you're like, yeah, you know, trust me, give it some time and you will get used to it there. But this is where we're also going to come into the downfall of the mouse for me. And this is definitely a personal preference downfall, right? Because you're going to grip your mouse different. Your fingers might be a little different size for me. So whenever I game, even other than my firmer grip, that really doesn't matter. But I tend to just really claw the mouse, again, when it's back in my palm and my fingers kind of spread here. So whenever I press the mouse up here on 1 or 2, I tend to go to the outside. There's no finger groove, so the 1 and 2 kind of slope off to the side just a little bit right there. So just naturally, again, using this for an extensive period of time, you know, again, I just got used to pressing on the outside since my fingers would slope and slide. So I catch myself pressing the side of that frame. When you see me press it down, I got that little lip of the side frame right there. Very mild, very minor, might sound nitpicky to you, right? But it became pretty annoying to me in game. But again, that is completely personal preference to you. you may be perfectly fine. You may use your buttons closer up above the scroll wheel. Me, I reach down. With it being a shorter mouse for me, my fingers tend to stretch all the way towards the front, and I started pressing down onto that sidewall, and it just got annoying, and that is what made me box up the Burst Pro. Now looking at my Burst Pro, you do see some mods. I got the paracord, I got core pads on the side, and then lizard skins. None of that stuff is needed. I just do it to my mice. I mean, a paracord is always better on any mouse compared to the stock one, you know what I mean? So again, just kind of nice little touch right there. But again, none of that's needed. That one downfall was the only downfall for me. I still love the mouse. I still highly recommend it. 50 bucks. It might be one of the best, if not the best $50 mouse you can get out there, in my opinion, you know what I mean? And when they release this mouse and wireless, if they do, I sure hope they do, I will instantly purchase this mouse. Instantly. It is that good of a mouse, and yes, I highly recommend it still. All right, so I know what a lot of you are waiting for, the giveaway of the Burst Core right here. How do you enter for it? Number one, you got to do the thing we talked about a little bit into the video right at the beginning. I know some of you out there, you're like, oh, son of a gun, man, I skipped all the way to the end to see how to enter the giveaway. But you got to do that first thing right there. Again, all of my giveaways are verified multiple ways, so again, we don't get any of those giveaway accounts. That is why I do these things, and you also get that Techne quiz. Don't forget about that, right? So you got to watch the video. All right, we've already had some giveaway winners lose their giveaways because they couldn't pass the quiz. So you got to do that. Make sure you watch the video and then comment right down below as far as what is your current favorite mouse. It doesn't have to be your main, just what is a favorite mouse. I know we're all testing a lot, so just let me know right down below. I think it'd be a real good conversation topic. You're just curious, and that's all you really got to do to enter the Burst Core. Now, it is US shipping that I will pay for. You live overseas, you can definitely pay for overseas shipping. It's just, whew, that overseas shipping is very expensive, so I do apologize for that. But if you're willing to pay for it, still enter right down below. Again, I will pay for the US shipping. But anyways, thank you so much for stopping by and watching my final impressions on a Roccat Burst Pro right here. Such an awesome mouse. Again, 50 bucks. I highly recommend it. You got to scoop this up and give it a shot. It's definitely an underrated mouse. And again, I do highly still recommend it right there. But anyways, I hope I answered some questions if you're looking at a new mouse or the Burst Pro right here. And I hope you enjoyed this last impressions. Many more to come. So make sure you hit that thumbs up and subscribe for some future tech videos. Hey, I hope to catch you in the next one. Bye now.